Okay. So talking, okay, switch on your video, students. All right. So talking about the phloem and its components, we know that the phloem is responsible for the translocation process, for the transportation of food in the plants from the source to the sink. Now, source is where the food is made and sink is where the food is needed. So from the source to sink, the phloem transports the food. Now, the direction of phloem, it is bidirectional, meaning it can go in either of the ways. But xylem transports in one direction only, that is from the root to the different parts of the plant. Now, talking about the phloem components, so we have seed tubes, companion cells, phloem fibers, and phloem parenchyma. Now, phloem fibers, because they are dead, so what they are responsible for? They are responsible for providing the support. Talking about phloem parenchyma, wherever parenchyma will be present, it will provide, what will it provide? It will provide the storage purpose. Now, talking about sieve tubes and the companion cells, so these two are the main conducting part of the phloem. Now, see, what happens is that the sieve tubes, they do not have a nuclei. And that is why they depend on the companion cells for their work. That is why companion cells get their name from, like, that is where they get the name from, meaning sieve tubes help in the transportation of food with the help of companion cells. Without companion cells, the sieve tube cannot function. Okay. Now, as far as this particular part goes, have you people, like, have I taught you this part, the direction and everything? Like, what is the last part you people wrote down in your notebook? Just check that and tell me. Last line that you've written.
We wrote the flowing components.
Phloem components.
Yes, ma'am.
And all of these are done, like the upward and downward direction and all. Have you written this thing?
We didn't write, but I remember your explanation.
Okay, I've explained it. Okay, I'll explain it once more so that it will become fresh for all of you. Talking about the transport of food and other substances. Now, the process of transport of the soluble food formed by photosynthesis is known as translocation, and it is done through phloem. So many a times in questions, it can be asked such as, like, translocation is the property of dash. So now you know that it is the property of phloem. Now, apart from the food, the phloem also transports the amino acid. Now, where does it deliver, like, all of these food stuff to? So it delivers to the storage organs of the root, fruit, seed, and the growing organs. So wherever there are storage organs so that the food can be stored, so there it delivers. Apart from that, it sends it to the growing organs. Why? Because the growing parts of the plants, they would require much more nutrition. They would require nutrition in order to grow better. So that is why these are the sinks. You understand the difference between source and sink? Source is the place from where the food, like, let's just say it begins. For example, we're talking about the food. So source is the place from where the food is prepared. And sink is the place where the food is transported to so that it can be, you can say, helpful. Okay? It's all right, Harshit. You are able to hear me, right? And you can see the screen and everything. If that's the case, then it's okay. Now, so source and sink are the two things that we must remember. Source is from where it is prepared or it starts, and sink is where it is transported to. Because sink, like, just like how we said that storage organs, growing organs, these are the sink of the plant. Meaning they require the nutrition over there, because of which the phloem transports it. Now, the translocation of food and other substances takes place in the sieve tube and the companion cells, because phloem fibers have they have the property to provide structural support. The phloem parenchyma is responsible for the storage aspect. So the whole entire process of, you can say, translocation, it takes place by sieve tubes and companion cells. Now, this process, it happens in both upward and downward direction, meaning from the root to the different parts. Also, it can go like from the leaf. Upward means from the leaf to the different branches and stems and everything. And downward means from the leaves to the root. So it can happen in both the direction. It doesn't matter. Now, the process of transport of food requires a lot of energy from ATP, because we know that energy currency of our cell is the ATP. And this process of transportation of the food, it requires a lot of energy, because food is not a very simple substance. Just like how water is and minerals are, but food is not. It is very complex and it is a bigger molecule. So for it to be transferred, ATP is required, like energy, some sort of energy is required. And since energy is being required, so it does not require any gradient. What's the use of gradient if energy is being applied only? So if the energy is being applied, so maybe it can go from a region of its low concentration to high concentration, because we have, like, the plant has the energy from ATP. Now, who can tell me the full form of ATP?
Adenosine triphosphate.
Very good. Adenosine triphosphate. So is the whole thing about the transportation through phloem clear to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Very good. Now we'll move on to excretion part of the chapter. Is my screen frozen on your side also
Yes, ma'am.
now?
Yeah, it's fine now.
All right. Now we'll talk about excretion. So now excretion, it is the process, it is the biological process of removal of harmful metabolic waste from the body. Unicellular organisms do not have any special structure for excretion, because their body organization is so simple that they won't require much of the like, you can say, processes to be excreting. So their excretion, just like the nutrition, it is done by diffusion, because it does not have to carry longer distances, because the organism is so tiny. And apart from that, their body does not require any high energy, or you can say high mechanism function. So that is why diffusion suffices everything. The region, like the movement of substances from a region of its higher concentration to lower, that suffices everything in the case of unicellular organisms. But talking about the multicellular organisms, so they use specialized organ to perform the function of excretion. They have proper organs present. For example, in human beings, we have kidney, right? We have kidney, and here excretion. Now, do you people know that what is the difference between excretion and defecation? Or are they the same thing?
I don't know what defecation is.
Okay. See, you remember egestion, right? The other name for egestion is defecation. Egestion means letting out the undigested waste from our digestive system through the anus, right? That is how we remove the waste in terms of food. And here in excretion, it's not about food, it's rather about the blood being filtered. So it is the filtration of blood. Clear? Any doubt? All right, very good. Now, talking about the excretion in the case of human beings. Now, human beings, we are so developed, we are so advanced. So, in our body also, the structures and the systems that are present, they are also advanced and developed. We have a proper excretory system present in our body, and that consists of the kidneys, which is one pair, meaning two kidneys are there, then one pair of ureters, one urinary bladder, and one urethra. These are the components that are there in the excretory system of humans. Any doubts up until now? What about you, Gianna? Any doubts?
No,
Gianna?
ma'am.
Okay.
No, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Now you people can note down till here, then we'll move forward. Was there anything left to note down from before? Like from xylem and all?
I don't think so, ma'am.
Okay. You can switch off your video, right comfortably. Done? What about Gianna? Gianna, are you also done?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, very good. Okay. Now let's talk more about the excretory system in the human beings. Now talking about the kidneys, so they are the primary, you can say, excretory organ. And where are they located? So they are located in the abdomen region on the either side of the backbone. So we have the backbone, and on each side of it is the presence of kidney. Now, the urine is produced in the kidneys. Then, from the kidneys, the urine is carried by the ureters and it is stored in the urinary bladder. So, all the components of the excretory system, they have their, you can say, own functions to perform, amongst which the, you can say, filtration of blood and the production of urine. That is the function of the kidneys. Then the transportation of the urine that is formed, it is the function of the ureters. And then the storage of the urine is for the urinary bladder. Now, wait, so we can mention that here also. We can write that formation of urine by filtration of blood. That is the function of kidney. Then for ureters, we can write transports or transportation of urine. And then gallbladder, storage of urine. Now, the urinary bladder stores the urine until it is released through the urethra. The urethra is the external opening because of which or through which the urine is expelled out of the body. Any doubts up till now? Okay, now talking about how urine is produced. So when the blood is filtered by the kidneys to remove the nitrogenous waste. Now see, what are nitrogenous waste? There are multiple types of nitrogenous waste. First, there is ammonia. It is most toxic nitrogenous waste. Then there is, after this, there is urea. It is less toxic as compared to the ammonia, and third is the uric acid. Now, uric acid is the least toxic. It is not that toxic. Okay, so depending upon the toxicity, these are the nitrogenous waste. Now, us humans, we excrete out urea. For all the fishes, ammonia is what they excrete out, and uric acid is for the birds. Birds excrete out uric acid. So these are the nitrogenous waste and their toxicity. Now, so when the blood is filtered by the kidneys to remove the nitrogenous waste such as urea or uric acid, then urine is produced. The filtration units are known as nephrons. And just like how cell is the basic unit of life, this nephron, we call nephron as the unit of the excretory system. The unit of the excretory system is the nephron. Meaning if the nephron will not be present, then the excretion process will not take place. So the single unit or the most basic fundamental unit of the excretory system is the nephron. Now, what happens? Inside the nephron, this structure is there. This diagram that you see, it is on the, like how the nephron looks on the inside. Now, it has a Bowman's capsule, a capsule-like structure, which is known as Bowman's capsule, or sort of like a cup-shaped structure. Now, inside the Bowman's capsule, there are many arteries or arterioles present. And then this continues. Now, this Bowman capsule encloses the glomerulus. Now, what is glomerulus? It is the tuft of capillaries that are present in the Bowman's capsule. Now, this Bowman's capsule, it extends and it forms the proximal convoluted tubule. So it has certain tubules, and that is the proximal convoluted tubule. Then there is this thing, the distal convoluted tubule, and but you see this is a loop striped structure here, this U-shaped structure. So that is known as Henle's loop. Now, what does Henle's loop do? Henle's loop has many functions such as you can say concentration of the urine. See, we know that the amount of urine we produce, it is how much? It's mostly 1 to 1.5 liters per day. But the amount of blood that is filtered out every day, it is so much more than that. So we can say that 99% of the blood that gets filtered out, it is reabsorbed, meaning all the components that were like they were reabsorbed, such as some amount of urea, then some special ions and proteins and anything that must be useful, they are you can say they are absorbed back, and then a very concentrated urine is produced by the nephron. Why does this happen? This happens because the urine formation during that very process, just like how in the absorption, when we absorb the food substances, same way the nutrients, they have to be absorbed from the urine, because it contains many useful compounds that are very useful for our body. So that is why it has to be reabsorbed. So then at the end, the production of a completely concentrated urine takes place, and this is the inside of a nephron. And mostly, like, sometimes a question can get asked as to draw the structure of a nephron. Now, moving forward, the process of urine formation has 3 steps: filtration, reabsorption, and secretion. Each of them have their own significance, because filtration is when the blood will pass through the nephron, and just like how we filter the coffee or filter the tea, same way all the components that are bigger and that are useful for the body, they will not get filtered. Rather, the nitrogenous base and all the stuff that are not needed, they will. Then reabsorption. As I said, there are many components that are formed, that are very useful for our body. So it needs to be reabsorbed. Now, why it needs to be reabsorbed? It's because the body needs it, but the body cannot lose it. And lastly, secretion. And this secretion is actually known as selective secretion, meaning some amount of ions and stuff are secreted during the filtrate formation. Okay, so we'll talk more about it, but for now, you note down up till here. Also, do you people have any doubts up till now? Sure?
I'm not clear with the nephron, but
Which part? Tell me.
the this the Henley's loop and stuff.
The Henle's loop. See, the Henle's loop, they have a property that they are responsible for creating a very concentrated urine. You understand what is the meaning of concentrated urine? Like, according to you, what do you think it is? Like, what is a concentrated urine? I'm saying it from that time, but what is the basic thing that you think about it? The concentrated urine.
Maybe like equal, um, like an amount.
Yeah, amount actually, it's about the amount only, but it is like, see, when we produce urine, okay, the normal, like according to the biological features or condition, If the urine is very dilute, now when I say dilute urine, it means that a lot of water loss. Usually when the urine comes out clear, just like water. So that is a dilute urine. That is just water and less of the salts and stuff. I mean, less of the nitrogenous waste. But a concentrated urine is less water and more of the nitrogenous waste. So the function of Henle's loop is to produce a concentrated urine in which the water will be absorbed by the body and the nitrogenous waste that are not needed in the body, they will be excreted out. That is the function of Henle's. And this whole thing that you're seeing, this diagram, it is present inside the kidney. And it is present in millions of number, millions in each kidney. So million in this, million in another kidney. Okay. This is the nephron. So while you people are noting it down, I would suggest you to draw it nicely in your notebook so that you'll have a practice also and you'll understand each of the parts. We'll explain each of the parts yet again. But for now, any doubts? We haven't gone into really depths of the topic. I've just given you a very, you can say, superficial introduction to this. Any doubts up until now? Gianna, what about you? Any doubts?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Now see, this excretory part is a little tricky, students. So while you're noting it down, before noting it down, first you read it nicely. First you read, see if you are understanding whatever it is written on the like screen. If you're not understanding, don't note it down. Ask me first. Understand each line and then note it down, because you know this is like, this gets a little tricky sometimes. So if you don't understand anything, just ask. Okay. Yes. Now you can note it down. 10 students? Okay, you can write first this thing, the different types of nitrogenous waste. First write this down.
Okay.
Done, students?
Ma'am, the diagram.
You can leave the diagram for today. We'll begin